Hey, it's Chanel, and this is a new reading vlog. So today I'm just telling you all about my recent reads. I'm going to go in order of least favourite to most favourite, so without much further ado, let's get to my reviews. So first up, we have Red into Tooth and Claw by Lish McBride. Is that light too strong? Is that better or is that worse? I don't know. Sometimes I feel like the ring lights are just very fake looking. Should we do that? Like a happy medium, we'll go with that. So this was one of the runners up of my Wild Ones book club, and I'm glad I didn't win. You've got Phelan, who is a young girl masquerading as a boy, and her grandfather dies. And even though he's left her everything in his will, because she is only 17, the town are trying to get their grubby paws on it, and they send her away to the settlement to be taken care of until she's of age and can return home. So meanwhile, the town's trying to find the deed. She's hidden it away in her boot, and she's just trying to make it through. The settlement, however, things are pretty funky around there. Things feel a bit dodge. They're very punitive. They're very cult-like in their nature and the way they operate, but there are paranormal elements at play. Tell me why though this was so slow and so boring, and it wasn't filled with enough interesting stuff to have made it worth it to go all the way to the end. And I pushed all the way through the end and it wasn't worth it. Honestly, I should have DNF'd, but there was just this promise of something cool and creepy happening. Stuff kind of creepy happened, nothing really cool happened. And yeah, I wish that I hadn't read the whole thing because it was a long book too. So this one I've ended up rating in 2.5 stars. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't worth the read for me. But I'd say if you like sort of old-timey Western books that are not super paranormal but have something different going on and very sort of subtle but likable characters, and you don't mind going in it for the long haul, then it might be worth a read. I then picked up Hum by Helen Phillips. So this is a sci-fi dystopian set in the future where tech has taken over pretty much. Everyone is on tech 24/7. There are these devices, or what do you call them, androids called hums, that are all around and basically advertise to you 24/7. The amount of advertising this, and I get it that it's annoying in this world, but it's also annoying to read about. But you have a mother named May, and May makes a lot of dumb choices. I'm sorry, she really does. She makes some bizarre choices. She's addicted to consuming. She's trying to do the best for her family, so she's volunteered to have this face-altering procedure that makes her unidentifiable to face scans by devices. And with the money, she takes her family to this place, I think it was called the Botanical Garden, which actually has real trees and real insects and animals because they're in limited supply in the real world. So her children and her family go there. Some things occur, some information is leaked. May did not read the fine print. And this was setting up to be either super scary or super full on, and it didn't. It didn't go that way at all. So if you want like a cozier dystopian sci-fi that's focusing on too much tech time, not good for you, I'd say read it, but be aware that you will be constantly advertised to, because that's what the hums do. That's what this world's like. They're constantly saying, hey May, did you know that hands are the biggest giveaway to a woman's age? Do you want us to send you this hand cream? Do you accept this purchase? Hey May, sounds like your family might need some bug spray. Do you accept this purchase? It's just constant. And I was like, no. This is why I pay premium, so that I don't ever have to hear an ad in my life. So yeah, for that reason, I've given it 2.5 stars. I just expected something different from it, but that was Hum. Then I read Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. So this is sort of like a classic. It's set in 1950s Paris. And the novel follows David, an Americano man, and he is grappling with his feelings for Giovanni, this very sexy Italian bartender. And he has to sort of navigate societal's expectations because it's not really, even though men are openly gay, and I think David may be bi, not sure, he really doesn't accept himself, and he hasn't really acknowledged his own sexuality, and pretty much he ends up just breaking Giovanni's heart and the heart of his female fiance. The writing is good. All of the points I have awarded are for the writing, 2.5 stars. David, however, to me felt heartless. I did not like him. He is a very unlikable character, very self-centered, and he leaves just destruction in his wake. There was also so much misogyny and transphobia in this book. like a lot. There was a whole spiel he went on about when, you know, talking to Giovanni, that he's not going to be a woman to be in this relationship with him. He'll never be a housewife because men can't be housewives. And he's not going to turn himself into a little girl just so they can stay together. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, okay. That's how all same-sex relationships work, clearly. But yeah, I just couldn't get past the transphobia in here is rough. Dude, the things that they think and say about men who are dressing in women's clothing, vile, disgusting. So yeah, I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't like the story. I didn't really feel for anybody. Even Giovanni was just manic. And yeah, like I said, I get it. I get why people would like it. The writing is fantastic, but for me as a story, it wasn't for me. That's why I gave it 2.5 stars. Because yeah, for me, I'm not reading for themes or deeper meaning or characters. Mostly I'm reading for entertainment and enjoyment. I want to feel something and I want to root for the characters. I want to be invested. And that's why, yeah, a lot of books, which I can see, because I know people probably come for me in the comments, but I can see why some books are good books, but this is just my personal enjoyment rating. The next book I picked up was We Used to Live Here by Michael Cleaver. So this is a horror, and you have a sapphic couple who have bought this house, and one day a family knocks on the door. It's like, hey, sorry to interrupt, but we used to live here. Do you mind if we come in just so I can show my kids where their dad grew up? Is that cool? And first of all, you have to leave all of your logic at the door, because there's no way anybody's going to be like, hey, yeah, sure. This has happened to me. People came to my house, said, hey, we used to live here. My kids would love to see their old rooms and what you've done with the place. Do you mind if we come and have a look? And I'm like, no. Go online, look at the listings. And if I sell it and I have open inspections, then you can come in. But yeah, I said no, thank you. It made me very uncomfy. I'm like, no thanks, strangers. This is my house now, thank you, and I don't know you. But what happens is the family come in and situations occur that they don't really leave, and then weird shit starts happening. This book is a whole, is it paranormal or is it mental illness? That is not a favorite of mine. I really don't like that, especially if it doesn't clearly end up showing you which it is, which this book does not. It remains ambiguous. Could be a mixture of both, you know. So I don't like those. It's very unsatisfying for me. So I've given it a 3 stars. It was still fast-paced. It kept you engaged because you just wanted to understand what's going on, what's going to happen. But at the end of it, I just was left scratching my head and being like, what? So 3 stars. I then picked up The Bog Wife by Kay Chronister. This is a gothic horror thriller, and it's about an old man and his 5 brainwashed children who have a codependent relationship with a bog. So basically they've made a pact with this bog, supposedly, and when the father dies, the patriarch, they must bury his body in the bog, and then from his grave, ashes, dirt, the next son has to go and coat himself in it and walk into the bog, and the bog will give him a wife, and he must copulate with the wife immediately and spit on her mouth and all sorts of other kinky shit. And then they have children and the line continues. There were 5 POVs in this because there were 5 siblings. There didn't need to be 5 siblings. There were some that were completely superfluous, and therefore this book was very slow. It dragged. The writing was good. I kept waiting for sort of weirder shit to go on with the story, but it didn't happen. And then how everything ends is just like, what do you mean? They're basically living like Luddites, but even worse, because a tree fell onto the house and crushed the eldest son, like breaking all of his bones and everything. Did they take him to a doctor? No, they did not. So he is now crippled permanently, and they left the tree in the house because they believe it's the bog's wishes. So half of their house is just like rotting and open to the elements. And like I said, this kid could have led a normal life, but no, it was just, yeah, I don't know. There was so many things that just didn't make sense. And this is set in a modern time, and one of the girls does get away and enter the real world. So I'm like, okay, if she's gone out and seen what the real world's like, why wouldn't she have come back and gotten her siblings? Do you know what I mean? Like, we don't have to live this way. But yeah, I just didn't buy a lot of it, and it just felt a bit ludicrous. So I've given it 3 stars. Then I picked up The 13th Child by Erin A. Craig. And this is sort of another gothic type of fantasy novel. With this one, there's a family that obviously have never heard out of the pull-out method and have given birth to their 13th child. Now, they're povo, okay? And they end up giving the child, so to speak, to the god of death. And he's supposed to claim her, but he takes his sweet ass time. So in the meantime, the family just resent the shit out of her. If they have a cake, she don't get none, and they consider her a burden. Finally, one day, when she's older, the god of death claims her. So there's a few gods in this, and people seem to sometimes, give their children to these gods. And the god of death tells her that he wants her to be a healer. He's going to give her a gift. She can touch someone. She'll see exactly how to heal them. But in the meantime, he wants her to read every medical text known to man so that she can have the skills also mentally, not just rely on her magic. But my God, Hazel, the character,
dumb bitch.
the choices she makes boggles the mind. At first, her first mistake, you could be like, okay, I get it. The god of death didn't really explain everything in full to her or why she wasn't meant to do that. But then he goes and explains to her why she wasn't meant to do that. And she still goes and does it. And it doesn't make sense. The sacrifices that she's making doesn't make sense. It's like, oh, girl, obviously you've got some unresolved childhood trauma. You need to work on that. Because, yeah, all of the decisions she made were beyond stupid. And it was so hard to root for her. And then also, Merrick, the god of death, and these other gods, they weren't in it that much. They were barely in it. And I was like, what a wasted opportunity. What a letdown. The plot itself just felt really ridiculous. The love, don't even get me started on the romance. Like, what? Where? What? Why? How? Okay, once again, Hazel, you need some therapy. This is not a healthy relationship. It got so silly. And it had so much potential. And that's what pissed me off. And I read it to the end because I thought, oh, this could really, really be something. And then it ended. And I'm like, okay, that did not go how I thought it would have gone. So yeah, I've given it 3 stars. It's mostly based on the potential. I still like Erin Craig's stuff. I've read all of their other books, enjoyed them. But yeah, this one was just a very weak flame. It was lit, but you're not going to see shit with that little candle guiding your way. At most you'll be able to see the nose in front of your face and that's it. So yeah, it just had so many loose ends as well. It would say certain things, you're like, oh, okay, what's that going to be later on? And then it's never mentioned again. And you're like, excuse me. You brought up this thing and you made it seem like this thing was a big deal. Why is this thing not mentioned ever again? So it was one of those kinds of books. And then I picked up Ladybirds by R. Rater. This is a paranormal romance where a woman sells her soul to save her boyfriend and ends up falling for the devil instead. So this is just a very cute, fluffy book, which is exactly what I said. Got a woman, boyfriend gets hurt, strange, seductive, alluring man appears out of nowhere, says, hey, I'll save him, but you got to give me a sword. We've got a deal. She thinks he's just a crazy man and says, yeah, sure, fine, we have a deal, just to get him to leave her alone. And then, he disappears. And then, her boyfriend's awake. But she didn't quite get what she wished for. Once again, I think this could have been a lot more, but it ended up just being like cute and fluffy and lighthearted. It wasn't as deep as I was expecting after having read the author's other book, Peaches and Honey, which had a bit more depth to it. I guess you would call this a slow burn, but I just wasn't super into it for whatever reasons, but I've still given it 3 stars. It was enjoyable. There's nothing wrong with it. I think a lot of people would enjoy it. I was just looking for something a bit more gritty and more paranormal with more world building, and this didn't quite deliver on that, but it was 3 stars. And then the final book and the best book of this reading vlog is Anxious People by Frederick Buckman. So this is sort of a litfic mystery, and you've got a would-be bank robber who ends up holding a bunch of idiots hostage in an apartment that was open for viewing. But when the hostages are released, there is a gunshot sound, the police stampede the apartment, find blood on the floor, but no sign of the robber. And so then we go to the 2 policemen in charge. It's a father and son, and they're interviewing all of the hostages one by one to try and figure out, where did the robber go? This was such a paradoxical book, or a juxtaposition of very heavy topics and themes, but done in a very comical and humorous way. At first, when I started reading it, I'm like, this is just so silly. And these people are ridiculous. And this is so over the top. It feels like a comical soap drama or something of that nature. And then things came to light and we got to know the hostages more, and these idiots somehow become your family. You come to care about them. You come to know about their lives and how they intersect in all the different ways. But like I said, many heavy themes in here. I'd say the biggest one is killing yourself, and how that has affected different people in different ways, depending on if it was a person who wanted to do it, if it was a person who lost someone to it, if it was a person who saved someone from doing it. It was very heartwarming. It just gives you this wonderful feeling of how human beings can come together and overcome challenges and find comfort and support in each other, and how sometimes doing the right thing maybe isn't the right thing. But I gave it a 4.5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. And I think the mystery element was cute as well. So it takes a bit to figure out what actually happened with the robber, which I really enjoyed as well. Sylvie was going in my closet. But those were all of the books that I read for this reading vlog. I am going out for a very fancy dinner with my sister and her friends tonight. So I'm going to finish this vlog up with footage from that. Fingers crossed the food is good, because it's costing me an arm and a leg. And I think I might eat a little bit before I go, because it also looks like the kind of place where the servings might not be big. I don't know. I could shoot myself in the foot with that, but there's nothing worse than still being hungry after paying a lot for a meal. So I'd rather leave some food on my plate than be feeling feel like I hadn't eaten enough. I don't know. What do you guys do? Do you just go hungry and hope for the best, or do you just, partially fill your tummy, have a little something to take the edge off, so that you're not chowing down on the bread on the bread bowl before anything even comes, and you don't feel like you have to buy multiple dishes? But then I don't know what this place is like. Is this a dish place, or is it a degustation where they give you tiny bite-sized pieces, but they give you like 10 plates of those? I'm not really sure. I have looked at the prices for the a la carte dishes, and they're astronomical and eye-watering. So I'm hoping there's some sort of like economical option. Hey, you povo bitches, here's something for you. Until next time, stay wild, star child.
I'm gonna prepare the cup. Can you saffron soup for me?